All right, we're live. Hey guys, what's going on? Mike from Regency Cigar here with special guest in the house. We are live on Instagram. Thanks for joining us at Regency Cigar Emporium, East Greenwich, Rhode Island. I have a special guest with me tonight. Saturday night, special live. Alex Weghorn, Davidoff brand ambassador in the house. We're going to be smoking some great Davidoff Royal Release. I got the Robusto. He's got the Solomon. He thinks bigger is better. Size does matter. That's what we're going with. Thanks for joining us. I would wave at you guys, but the phone is way over there. Carlos, we got audio. We're good to go. All right. YouTube is in the house. Instagram's in the house. Mike from Regency Cigar right here. You're used to seeing me, but you might not be familiar with this guy. This is the Davidoff brand ambassador. He goes all over the country representing Davidoff, does a great job at it. He's done an event with us, a couple events with us.
One, we did the hats and cigars.
Yeah, we did the hats and cigars, and we have another event coming up this Tuesday, Davidoff 10th anniversary tasting experience with gourmet chocolate this Tuesday in the bar at Regency Cigar Emporium in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. If you're in the area, you want tickets for that, you can still RSVP through us. Call the store, 401-884-7665. But it's me, Mike at Regency Cigar, the cigar guy, cigar king, anything you want to call me as long as you're calling me. And this is Alex. I keep getting it wrong. Alex Weghorn.
Weghorn, yes.
We even had that wrong. We had you as Weghorn on the first image that we did for this post. So we don't get everything right at the beginning, but by the time we're finished, we usually get things right. That's how we roll here at Regency Cigar. There's no perfection except for the perfecto that he's about to light up. You want to get started with the cigars?
I would love to.
All right. So Alex, say hi to the folks out there. They're used to seeing me. It's Saturday night. Thank you for joining us live at 5 on a Saturday night. If you guys are getting ready to go out to dinner or go out party, this is how we roll. It doesn't always have to be fancy, women, drugs, food. I leave that up to Carlos, who works for me. He's young. He does that stuff now. He's my man behind the computer right now. But we are lighting up. I got the Royal Release Robusto. This is my normal Saturday night cigar, typically my Saturday night cigar. He's got the Royal Release.
Such a beautiful blend, such a beautiful format
Solomon,
for this blend.
That's a monster cigar. Size does matter.
Going to be here for a while.
We're gonna be here for a while. So Instagram gives us an hour and a half. So the cigar, even this cigar goes longer.
We could do a couple.
Instagram we could do a few Instagram lives. And same thing on YouTube. YouTube, we have not forgotten you. Thank you for joining us out there in YouTube land. We're trying to spread the word at Regency Cigar. If you're not following us, we are just about everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest. Used to be on TikTok. Did I say TikTok? We're not on TikTok anymore. Banned
Formerly
from TikTok.
known as the Cigar King on TikTok.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So we say fuck TikTok. You know, they banned us because we promoted cigars. Go figure. We're in the cigar business. We talked about cigars for 2 years, built up a very nice following on TikTok, and then they started pulling down videos like they were dentists pulling teeth, 2-for-1 deal. And then finally one day I opened up the account, and it's locked out. And they said, we're banned because we promoted tobacco products. So screw TikTok. We are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Pinterest. And you can always sign up for email on regencycigar.com. We send out emails quite often, specials. Sent out an email about this. This is Alex Weghorn in the house, Davidoff brand ambassador. So I've known Alex for a little while, not a very long time. So I want Alex to tell us a little bit about himself, how he became Davidoff brand ambassador, how he got into the cigar world, the wonderful world of premium cigars.
Of course.
That has changed my life, and probably you can probably say the same.
I would not be as happy in my life, I don't think, to be perfectly honest, if I was not in the cigar industry.
100%.
Just the way things have turned out.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I agree 100%. Yeah. That's it. So tell us a little about it. So tell us what it means to be the Davidoff brand ambassador. I mean, that's a big deal. I've known 3 of them. Right? Yeah. So we're going to do a little comparison in a little while, but tell us.
That's probably the most. That has made me the most nervous so far.
No, it's it. Well,
you saying that.
So actually, before he tells us, I'll tell you the comparison. So I got 2 comparisons. Davidoff brand ambassadors. I've known 3 of them, so I compare them either to the Batman, the guys who played Batman, or the guys who played James Bond.
Yeah.
So which one do you want to go with?
I'm more of a Bond fan.
You're a Bond fan, so I love them both.
Way.
You know, so I was trying to figure out. I thought he was the George Clooney of Batman. You know, he definitely.
Okay.
Definitely not the Val Kilmer.
Okay, thank you.
George Clooney, good-looking guy, was good Batman. Everybody forgot that he was a Batman.
Yeah.
Became very successful.
So you're saying
Actually,
he's
before
forgettable?
the Batman, I say you're a good-looking
Okay,
guy.
appreciate
You got chops. You got talent. The script wasn't the best for that movie.
Right.
But I mean, is he a Christian Bale? Most recent, he's a Christian Bale, not Christian Bale. But the most
Affleck.
recent. Ben Affleck was the most recent. Who's the guy that just did he did the darker ones? Also American Psycho.
Yeah, Christian Bale.
It is Christian Bale. So he was my favorite Batman.
Yeah.
You could be the Affleck. But I thought Clooney had a little more class.
I will say, I think, I don't know, because I know Affleck has taken a lot of heat.
For his Batman.
For his Batman specifically. So I might prefer Clooney, I guess.
That was my pick. You can chime in on this if you remember all the Batman. But what about 007, James Bond?
Okay, so I have a theory on this.
Oh, interesting. So you've heard this comparison before? You've done this before?
Not me personally, but I have a theory on when people are picking their favorite Bond.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I'm comparing the Davidoff brand ambassador. So we had Jeff Stone.
Sure.
We had Shia.
Yep.
And now we have Alex.
Yeah.
So Jeff Stone, geez, for Bond, probably Roger Moore.
Okay.
I'd put him somewhere there. Definitely
certainly
not,
old school.
Old school, not the Sean Connery. You know, Sean Connery is up there, one of the best, if not the best Bond. But then Daniel Craig, absolutely outstanding as James Bond. Daniel Craig, did I get that name right?
Daniel Craig, yeah. I mean, he's obviously got the action side down pat.
A little more grittier.
Right, yeah. It's not as much of the refined, sophisticated, the smooth, the panache lines,
exactly
right? It's a little bit more in your face in the explosions, and he pulls that off very, very well. In my opinion, people's favorite Bond is typically whomever was acting in the first Bond film they saw.
Yeah.
So typically, mine was GoldenEye, so that's Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. See, that's what I was going to peg you as.
Yeah?
I was going to peg you Pierce Brosnan.
I will take that. I will take that.
So really my three favorites was Pierce, Daniel Craig,
Yeah.
and Sean Connery. And Sean Connery was before my time, but I did see those movies. But I grew up starting to watch with Daniel Craig.
Certainly.
I think was it Roger Moore was just before him or Dalton?
Well, there was so Moore, Dalton, and actually Moore was twice, because there was one guy who was in one Bond film that a lot of people don't remember. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, George Lazenby.
I don't know.
It was the only Bond film he was in.
So he had an actual film, or was it just a commercial?
No.
No idea who that is.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And actually, that is the only movie where Bond was married.
Interesting.
So what
was the movie?
Is it On Her Majesty's Secret Service?
That's the name of it. On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah, so are you going to go watch it, or should I tell you kind of what happens at the end?
Tell me what happens.
Okay.
Because I'll forget anyways. I'm drinking a martini.
So he ends up, at the very end, he gets married, and he's going to get out of the life. He's not going to be a secret agent anymore. He's going to settle down, right? And then there is a drive-by shooting that's meant for him, kills his wife in the car.
Oh.
So then he's not married anymore, and he goes back to, okay, now it's time to kick some ass.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So like The Godfather, just when he thought he was out, they pull him
back in.
That's it. So which Bond are you? For Davidoff brand ambassadors, I've known 3.
Well, I can't make that comparison.
Of course you can make that comparison.
I can't. No,
so
that
I
has
was
to be
saying
made
Pierce
by other
Brosnan.
people.
So if you like Pierce Brosnan,
I'll take it.
This guy is the guy for you. If you didn't like Pierce Brosnan, if you hated Pierce Brosnan, you might want to change to another live as we speak.
I will say real quick, that's like nicknames. You can't give yourself your own nickname. And I think I saw on Instagram, my boss, Eddie Guerra, he likes to give out nicknames to me.
To you? Multiple?
So I have a couple. I won't go into it here, but he likes to give me nicknames, and he never fails to remind me that that's right. And he never fails to remind me that I'm not allowed to have input into any nicknames.
That's Eddie for you.
Yeah. Hi, Eddie. Enjoy vacation.
He's the Pierce Brosnan of Davidoff brand ambassadors, and that is a compliment. He's one of the good ones. That's for sure. So, Alex, tell us what we're smoking here. I know what we're smoking, but tell them what we're smoking here, because this is probably my favorite cigar in the humidor as a treat. So I do not smoke these every day. I do try to smoke one a week.
Right.
Doesn't always happen, and sometimes I'll smoke two, in a week. But I try to get one of these
fancy.
in after dinner on a Saturday night. I love ending
Yeah.
a Saturday with this cigar. But tell us about the Royal Release.
This is, to me, this is one of those epitome moments of time beautifully filled, right? Obviously, yes, these are larger formats. Even with the Robusto, it is not just your standard Robusto. It will last you a while, and you still won't want it to end.
Yeah,
right.
That's
it's
exactly right.
one you just want to keep on going. You want it to go forever. But the Royal Release, the whole point of the royal side of this, right, is it gets the royal treatment from the very beginning. So a lot of tobacco, typically it is chosen for particular blends or portions of the cigar, be it wrapper, binder, filler, after it's already grown.
Yeah.
Right. And so with us and the Royal Release, it's all about intent. And so every single part of this cigar, every single process for the cigar is done with the intention of Royal Release in mind. So the seeds are specifically chosen for this blend beforehand.
So before they're planted,
before they're even
that's
planted,
a royal seed.
Correct.
Wow.
It's going
I did not know
into
that.
the same fields that is the royal fields. The curing barn that is used, it is the royal barn. Everything about the entire process is geared towards the Royal Release being the final product.
Yeah.
So all the way to the aging is over a decade for this. We make sure that we are putting all of that time in, so you don't have to after the fact.
That's exactly
And we
right.
do that with all of our products, but certainly the Royal Release is getting at least a decade worth of aging before we're actually even talking about the final product. And then once that aged tobacco gets to our artists known as the rollers, first off, to be able to roll and even attempt their first Davidoff cigar, they have to have a minimum of 10 years experience. For the Royal Release,
any Davidoff cigar.
That's any Davidoff cigar.
Before
that's
they can even get in the room.
First. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when they get in the room, they're in the back of the room.
Right.
The rookies sit in the back left corner. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they work up, they progress through with experience as they go. But 10 years experience before you can even set foot in the Davidoff room to roll any Davidoff cigar. But that's not including these.
Correct. And for these, we only have 8 rollers that are allowed to use this type of tobacco. And they have to have a minimum of 15 years experience before they're even considered. So you're talking about the group we have right now. That's over 7 million cigars.
Yep.
Between them. That you taste that proficiency in every single draw on this magnificent tobacco. Yeah.
So over 10 years of aging, all the tobacco comes from Royal Farms, Royal Seeds, its own curing barns. Everything about this process is special. This is the crown jewel of Davidoff. Now, the Davidoff Oro Blanco, they produced only so many. That was a one-time situation, certain crop, vintage, did what they did. We still have some Oro Blancos, but they're no longer in production. They haven't been in production. I believe they just released the last of them this year. Yeah. And that's it. That's all. Once they're gone. So in the regular family, and there is nothing regular about the Royal Release. But out of all the Davidoff lines, the Royal Release is considered the crown jewel out of every Davidoff made. This is if you're looking for the best cigar in the world.
Right now,
these are awesome. This is absolutely an awesome cigar. You can never go wrong with this cigar. As long as you're looking for a full body smoke, it is smooth as silk. You can retrohale this. It has a lot of flavor. It has a decent amount of strength. But remember that 10 years of aging really balances out the tobacco and gives it that smoothness to where you can blow it through your nose and you don't get that heavy burning sensation. It's smooth coming in and it's very smooth going out.
That is lovely.
Great rich flavors to it, everything about it. So we figured if we're going to go live with the Davidoff brand ambassador, we're going to smoke something special and something great. And everyone deserves something special. Now, Davidoff cigars typically not made for everyone, right? They're expensive,
which is okay,
and that is okay. But the wonderful thing about premium cigars that I like to say is everyone has access to the best. You're not going to smoke them every day, and maybe you're not even going to smoke them every week. But if you can grab a Davidoff once a month, once a quarter, once a year, on your birthday, your anniversary, a special occasion, it's within reach. Anybody can make room for it. If you're in the world of premium cigars, if you're smoking $5 cigars, it pretty much means eliminate $5 cigars and a quarter, And
That's
you have
doable.
$25 and you can smoke a Davidoff Nicaragua. You can smoke a
That's
Davidoff
doable.
Millennium. That is 100%
Certainly.
doable. And everyone should have the privilege of enjoying one of the best cigars in the world, because it is one of the few products that just about anyone has access to the very best.
Yeah.
And that's the reputation that Davidoff has worldwide, being the best, if one of the best, if not the best cigar maker in the world. And they have something for everyone with different blends.
And,
But that's
that has taken a long time to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
That has taken a stick-to-itiveness that only a handful of other companies can say they've done and they've gone through. Right.
One of my favorite claim to fames of Davidoff, and you know the story, so I'd like you to share that with us, is Davidoff is the brand, and Zino Davidoff was the guy that left Cuba. In this country, Cuba's got this reputation of the holy grail of cigars and the forbidden fruit, because they are illegal in this country, so you can't buy them in any retailer in the United States. So everybody thinks they're that much better because they're sought after, because you can't get them. But you have to remember that Davidoff in the 80s was the brand and the man that said the quality is not there. It's not good enough for my name. It's not good enough for the Davidoff band. So I'm going to start up from scratch in the Dominican Republic. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely,
story?
yeah. So we'll actually rewind a little bit. Let's go back to 1968, and that was when actually the Cuban government had approached him and said, "Hey, you need to be making this for worldwide consumption." Up to this point, it's still just one single retailer in Geneva, Switzerland, right?
So originally the cigars were just made for the family store?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the brand. Was actually, it's just retail. Their brand was made for them in the store, but it was just the store. The Cuban government says, "Hey, you guys need to do this for global distribution," and so Zeno thought about it. I mean, he's doing things with intent. He's not just going to jump at the first opportunity. He's got to make sure he thinks through this. So he said, "Okay, but there's 4 caveats. Number 1, I have to have control of all the blends. Number 2, I have to control of all the marketing. Number 3, I have to control all the packaging. And number 4, most importantly, I have to have control of all the quality control processes." So when you fast forward to the late 80s, 20 years later, the quality had taken a significant hit out of Cuba.
Yeah.
And this is not only that, but they were using the same factory as what they used for Cohiba and Trinidad, those brands, El Guido.
Yeah.
Right. So with that type of quality that you would expect, it was not still living up to the Davidoff name. His name is on every single one of these cigars.
That's right.
And he was not going to allow somebody else's quality control or lack thereof to impact his legacy. So in the late 80s, he had over 130,000 Cuban-made Davidoffs removed from the inventory and very publicly destroyed. So they went up in smoke, and not in a good way.
That was the quality that Cuba was pumping out. And he said, not good enough.
Nope.
Not only am I not bringing them to market, I'm going to destroy them. So no one has the opportunity to bring them to market. And I'm getting the hell out of there. And I'm
going over to Santiago, Dominican Republic in 1991. And it's been great ever since. And honestly, that you mentioned starting over. Yeah, because it's not just you pick up and move. You have to pick up, move. Oh yeah, by the way, you can't use Cuban tobacco anymore.
That's right. That's right.
You open up the U.S. market, no, you can't use Cuban tobacco. So you have to retool everything you've done up to that point. Yeah. And that obviously Davidoff already had a pretty significant name. The tobacco world was very well aware of Zino. So to start over from scratch, that takes some chutzpah.
Yeah, big time. I mean, you want to talk about balls?
That way.
It's absolutely amazing to be able to do that. But it goes to tell you. So if you're one of those guys that's out there smoking Cuban cigars or searching for Cuban cigars, and you think they're the best, there is one company that left that said the quality isn't good enough, the tobacco isn't good enough, the quality control, everything that they were doing, not good enough. We need to move somewhere else. And they really helped develop, give the Dominican Republic the reputation that it deserves as one of the best growers of tobacco, a country, as a nation, and one of the best producing countries of premium cigars in the world.
100%.
Yeah, without a doubt. The cigars coming out of the Dominican Republic today are probably better than they've ever been. and Davidoff, I believe leads the way there. But much, much better quality control and consistency coming out of the Dominican Republic than coming out of Cuba. Just because I don't sell them doesn't mean I don't have access to them, and it doesn't mean that I haven't smoked them. I've frankly given up on them. I can't remember the last time.
Same.
It's been several months.
Yeah.
Once in a while you get a good one and they're fantastic, but if you buy a box, half the box is unsmokable.
Exactly. With the way the prices have gone, especially, they have jumped and jumped and jumped, and then you hope, if you're trying to get them shipped into the U.S., you hope they don't get taken by customs. Yeah. So you're not even 100% sure you're going to get them. Number two, you're not getting the same quality as you would expect for that price point.
Correct.
So let's say you buy a box of 20, 10 of them don't smoke. Now you're spending double per stick.
If you pay $20 a cigar, you're now smoking $40 worth of cigars because half of them didn't smoke. Were unsmokable. And frankly, you should not be spending anywhere near that amount of money for cigars that are unsmokable. Now, everything made by hand, always keep in mind, I don't care who it is, there's always a chance that something's going to go wrong. Humans are not perfect, will never be perfect, and the process isn't perfect because it is made by hand. But if you're looking at Davidoff, and I smoke a good amount of Davidoff, it might be a bad cigar. I dabble a little bit. Out of every few boxes, you might get one bad one. Not half, maybe. Not half out of every box or a quarter out of every box. I mean, it's ridiculous. But the whole point of that story was just to prove a point that the quality control at Davidoff, one of the things that makes them world renowned as the best or one of the best of the best in the cigar industry, is that quality does matter. And he would not bend and if the standards were not to his liking, shut down the fact we're moving. We're getting the hell out of there. We're destroying over 100,000 cigars and starting over in a different country. So that's why we do Davidoff. Alex Weghorn here, Davidoff brand ambassador. I'm Mike from Regency Cigar. If you're just joining us, I have a special guest on a Saturday night. Alex Weghorn, Davidoff brand ambassador, has joined me. We're talking Royal Release that we're smoking, a little bit of the Zeno Davidoff legacy, and how he moved Davidoff, the cigar manufacturing process, from Cuba to the Dominican Republic in the late 80s and early 90s. That was like a multi-year transition. It took a while.
Yeah, right? Again, you don't just pick up and move. That is significant. It's logistically cumbersome.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us, we're 22 minutes into this? 22 minutes into this, we already talked Batman, James Bond, Zeno Davidoff, Royal Release.
Moving right along.
We're moving at a pretty good pace, but we are limited time, and this guy has a lot of knowledge that he can drop with you. So if you have any questions, we do have Carlos in the background here. You can pop out some questions to Alex. He will answer questions if they are appropriate questions. So when I say any questions, we're going to stick to the world of cigars. Alex,
I'm keeping my clothes on.
That's exactly right. We're going to make sure of that. That's why we have that 5-second delay on the live. In case he goes out of his mind and out of his clothes, we can shut it down before anything goes live to the world. Yeah. So, Alex, tell us about you. Yeah. How did you get into premium cigars to begin with, and then how did that journey eventually took you to become Davidoff brand ambassador?
So it's one of those things where I feel at least the beginning was pretty similar to a lot of us out there. It's you're a senior in high school, or you're just out of high school, and you have your first cigar. Which, by the way, do you remember your first cigar?
I do remember my first cigar. So
Care to share?
My story's a little bit different. So I have two stories. My first cigar was not a premium cigar, and I was 10 or 11 years old.
Okay. All right.
I'd never smoked cigarettes. Still to this day, never smoked cigarettes. Kids always experimented with cigarettes. Back then, when I was a kid, when I'm 10 years old, you could walk into a convenience store and you could buy cigars or a pack of cigarettes and say it was for your father or for your mother or for somebody. It was your local neighborhood store, and they trusted you. And I used to do that. My father smoked cigarettes. I used to go pick up a pack of cigarettes. I was always fascinated with cigars. And one of my heroes as a kid was Clint Eastwood in the Spaghetti Westerns.
Certainly.
Always had a cigar in his mouth.
Chariots.
And look, the movies influenced me. Yeah. I thought he was the coolest cat on the planet. So me and a buddy of mine went in. We picked up some cheap cigars. I don't remember what it was, but they were, we had very little money. So we grabbed the cheapest cigars we could. We went into his backyard and we smoked them behind the tree. And we thought we were cool. And we left the butts there. And his mom found them. And his mom knew right away who it was.
Significantly less.
And his
cool
mom
now.
told my mom, next thing you know, I'm punished. So I didn't smoke for a few years after that. I took a little bit of a break, and I started smoking again when I was 18 years old. Again, still not premium cigars. So I was smoking. I'd go to a Cumberland Farms or something, and I think it was the Garcia Vega Crystals were the best that they had in a Cumberland Farms. They didn't have humidors in convenience stores like they do now back then. So I would smoke Garcia Vega Crystals, on occasion, here and there on the weekend. And my friends used to make fun of me and like, well, who do you?
How far you have come?
Yeah, look, now I'm smoking Royal Release. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But my first premium cigar was the Griffin 300.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I chose that cigar was because at the time I was working in a precious metals refinery, and one of the owners was a big cigar smoker, and he smoked Griffin 300s. He was very wealthy, very successful, and he smoked Griffin 300s. And I said, if they're good enough for him, they're good enough for me. That's what I'm going to start with. So me and my friend Steve at the time, who works for me now, has been here since the store opened. We split a box of Griffin 300. Had never had the cigar.
Okay.
Didn't go and buy one cigar. We actually split a box. We bought it via catalog at the time, mail order, because I didn't even know where a cigar store was.
Okay. All right.
So
you were committed to this first experience.
I was introduced to premium cigars by the janitor, Chet, who has since passed away, and I thank him every day, because he introduced me. He left the catalog on the cafeteria table.
Okay.
I want to say it was a Thompson's catalog.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen one before. And I'm flipping through, and I'm like, what the hell is this? These cigars are outrageous. I mean, they're expensive. The boxes look so cool. And this is back in the early 90s, like 90, 91.
So even right before Aficionado.
Just before Aficionado.
Yeah. So that was 92. Yeah. Okay.
So I saw the catalog. I saw the pictures. I was fascinated by it. I'm like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
But I wasn't making a lot of money then. And Griffin 300s back then, I want to say it was like $140 a box. That was a lot of money.
For 20 count?
For
25?
25 count, yeah. So I talked to Steve. I'm like, Steve, hey, check this out. And Steve was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm like, I want to buy a box. You want to split one with me?
Let's do it.
And we did it.
Let's do it.
We had them shipped to work. We got them in. Okay. We ran to the loading dock at lunchtime. You could still smoke on property, back then. Open up the box, ran to the loading dock, didn't have lunch, just lit up the cigar. And that was my first premium cigar. Was during lunch, me and Steve literally bit the ends off because we didn't even have cutters there. We lit it up with matches. But we started with Griffin 300s, and then it was just off to the races. Yeah. And I found every cigar store that I could find, started going in here and there.
I bet you were paying more attention to looking around and trying to search
it's out. It's like that car, the new car that comes out that you never noticed it until
and then
you
all of a sudden they're everywhere.
Then there's a million of them. Cigar stores, there weren't a million of them, but all of a sudden when you start looking for them, there was one here, there was one in this town, there was one in that town. There were two in my hometown that I had driven by hundreds of times. I had no idea. I had no idea they were there. So that was me. What about you? We'll get back to you.
So for me, my first cigar, it was a Romeo. It was my senior year of high school, and it was
a Dominican Romeo.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't start Cuban.
Okay.
So yeah, it was one of my best friends from high school, David. It was actually his idea first, right?
Okay.
And
back then you could smoke at 18 years old.
Correct. Yeah. This was what 04, 05 time frame. And so it was his idea. I'm like, sure, why not? And I'm very, very happy I didn't make the very rookie mistake of trying to inhale.
Yeah.
Because that would have ended my night. And I maybe would not have smoked another cigar in my life.
Correct.
My life could have been very different if that experience had been
you see a lot of people make that mistake,
and it's because, and I'll get to this part. I'll fast forward a little bit. So I did come from retail before I was at Davidoff, and so you have the cigarette smokers or the weed smokers that come in, and it's like, okay, don't inhale. First rule of cigars, don't inhale, and it's just that instinct, that reflex for them.
Yeah,
and then they cough smoke all over, and you're like, I told you 3-4 times, don't do that. But first cigar. Romeo y Julieta. I want to say it was the 1875.
Yeah.
If I remember which one it was.
So that was the traditional line. That
was the
line. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Easy to find.
The Bully.
It was Bully actually. Yeah, that's a good call. but obviously easy to find. Price wasn't an issue. So from there, it wasn't like I was super into it, honestly.
Yeah.
It was okay, did that. I didn't obviously have a very developed palate, so I didn't know what I was supposed to be getting out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, is this a waste of money, or like, why do people do this? Where's the enjoyment? But over time, I would start to enjoy cigars a little bit more. And regardless of whatever I have done in my adult life, be it for as a job or career choice, cigars have been the only constant. Right. So I after high school, I went to college for a little bit. I was playing baseball at Eckerd College in St. Petersburg, Florida. Um, I was actually that my father had passed away right before I graduated from high school. So lost a little bit of discipline and direction. And so I was there more to play baseball than to go to school.
Yeah.
Right. So academically wasn't doing all that great. But then I looked into joining the Air Force.
Wow.
And so I joined the Air Force, and I did space intelligence actually out at Vandenberg Air Force Base, which was pretty cool. But again, now I'm starting to get into cigars a little bit more, paying more attention to not only brands but types of tobacco as well. And so did active duty for 4 years, did reserves for another 2 years. And after I had left active duty, went back home to Florida, I actually got into sports talk radio, and I did sports talk radio from 2011 to 2017 for my best friend's dad. Shout out to Randy Harris, Knockout Radio.
Randy.
But worked with him as an intelligence analyst. I was briefing a lot, so I had some experience with talking in front of groups of people. Obviously that continued with the radio side of things. And then I got into the health and wellness industry. Actually, I was working for I was a competitive bodybuilder for about 4 years, and I got into a health food company. Basically, they had stores, and they have stores in Florida where they make pre-made healthy meals, and so you can just go in, grab them, and go, and then everything's done for you. And I started there because I wanted the employee discount.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a bodybuilder, it was way easier to do that. But I got
eating a lot as a bodybuilder.
Yeah. Your calorie intake is up there, but you have to be smart about where those calories are coming from, obviously. So doing that, I got into the more corporate side of things. I was up in the corporate office, and I was doing presentations still, but that really wasn't checking the box for me for what I wanted to do with my life. Make sure this doesn't.
He's losing it.
Cigars are like a good woman. If you turn your back on them, they'll go out.
That's exactly right.
Don't
never ignore a good woman, and never ignore a good cigar. But this is when we're talking, typically we don't do this much talking when we're smoking. But this is an interview. You are being interviewed. You are answering questions. So we're going to let that slide. But I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes during one of these in an hour, I'll light up my cigar 5-6 times.
It happens.
I do not recommend it. You don't want to do that if you can avoid it. But we're trying to pass on some knowledge to you, trying to tell you guys a little story, trying to entertain you a little bit, and share about Regency Cigar, share about Davidoff of Geneva, and share about Alex Weghorn, brand ambassador for Davidoff. So if you're just joining us, thanks for checking in with us. I'm Mike from Regency Cigar. We are live on Regency Cigar, Instagram, and YouTube. We haven't forgotten about you, YouTube. We're not used to doing YouTube, so I just started this a couple of weeks ago. But welcome to everyone who's joined us. I have a special guest in-house. So usually my guests are live through wherever they are, at home or at their office, somewhere else. But Alex was kind enough to join me tonight because he's in town, because we're doing an event together. Tuesday night here at the Cigar Bar. The Davidoff Nicaragua 10th anniversary tasting experience. Although we're not tasting a 10th anniversary, it's part of the 10th anniversary celebration.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And we've matched up the tobacco. The Davidoff Nicaragua, you get a regular Nicaragua and a box press Nicaragua.
Correct. Yeah.
And then some gourmet chocolates. Do you remember the name of the company?
Vosges Chocolates out of Chicago. VOSGES. Vosges.
So big thanks to Vosges for collaborating with Davidoff to do this. Phenomenal chocolates. It's going to be a great night. Alex is going to walk us through the tasting that night. We do have some tickets available, so if you want to join us, you can check us out. Shoot me an email, DM me. If you want to come to town, or if you're in town, call the store, 401-884-7665, and we can get you on the list for that event. That's this coming Tuesday. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we were just talking about you and your journey through cigars. So
and we finally got to. We're actually about to get into the introduction.
So
into
you're
the
at a
industry
health
side.
food company.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going from there to the world of cigars.
Yeah. So I just
Love that.
I wasn't being fulfilled like I was hoping.
Yep.
I would in that, but my regular spot, and another shout out if you don't mind, Central Cigars and Ruby's Elixir down in St. Petersburg, Florida. I had been a regular there for a couple years at that time.
And which year is this now? Where are we?
Now we're in 2018.
2018. Okay.
Yeah, so February 2018, there was actually a Woodford Reserve event that was going on over there. It was a tasting. So it is a cigar bar, not a full lounge, but a cigar bar. The Central Cigars is the cigar bar side of things. Ruby's Elixir is the live music venue side. So it's a cool combination there. But there was a Woodford Reserve event. I went over there real quick to go taste some amazing Kentucky bourbon. I am from originally Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm from Bourbon County, Kentucky. So kind of a thing for
kind
me.
of a thing.
Yeah. So the rep for the liquor company there was actually also from Kentucky. And then on the Ruby side, the drummer for the band that night, also from Kentucky. So I'm like, hey, this is so cool. Let's get a picture of all the Kentucky things going on at the same time. Let's post it up on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. The social media presence wasn't quite especially where it is now.
Yeah.
A lot of effort has gone into it. But it just didn't exist then. And I'm like, okay, I have some social media experience from the radio side of things, even from the health food side, more the bodybuilding side. So maybe I'd be able to come on and do social media for them. And Greg Haddad, the owner, he's like, well, if you come on as a tobacconist, then we can do the social media as an additional duty, and we can go from there. And so April of 2018, Greg gave me the opportunity to come on board, and I never had any intent to get into the tobacco industry.
Yeah.
I thought I was just going to be an aficionado. I was going to just like them, right? And
it was just part of your lifestyle.
It was just lifestyle. It was
Yep.
a really great hobby that turned into an important part of my lifestyle. And being a regular there, I obviously already knew how things went. I knew the staff. I knew a lot of the regulars. So it was kind of a really easy transition from in front of the bar to behind the bar.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it was April of 2018. I got involved over there. He and a very good friend of his and ours is Tony Mangiafico. They went into business with a high-end champagne whiskey caviar bar just a couple blocks away down there called Flute and Dram. So I had gone down there, was front of house manager in Mater D, and I had a lot of I brought a lot of tobacco knowledge with me.
Yeah.
So I was able to help with cigar sales down there, because also have a humidor on that side of the business. So went down there, ended up taking over for a little bit as GM there. That was actually April of 2019. And then unfortunately there was a tragedy back at Central. The previous GM had unexpectedly passed away. So then I actually went back. I transitioned back to Central and Ruby's and took over as GM about beginning of June of 2019.
So did Davidoff reach out to you about this? Or?
So for this part of things, I was the GM there for about 3 years. And then Lana Fraser, actually, the director of marketing and retail, she reached out to me in April of last year and is like, hey, are you or anybody you know interested in this position? And that's something you don't say no to.
Yeah.
But I also never expected to be here.
Yeah.
Honestly, you asked earlier about like, what does this position mean to you? And it was a scary proposition for me, to be perfectly honest. And for a while I had imposter syndrome, because you talk about some of the other brands and some of the names that are associated with them and their positions, and how long this is an industry filled with families. It's familial, it's generational, people who have grown up in tobacco fields that this is all they know. And here I am, I've been working at a cigar bar for a handful of years at this point, and they reach out to me about this position. So I'm like, okay, it'll be an interview or two, and they'll say, "Thanks, but no thanks. Appreciate it. We'll see you when we come down there." Because the bar and the office for Davidoff, it's about 10-15 minutes. It's all kind of in the same area, in the St. Petersburg, Pinellas Park area in the Tampa Bay region. So one interview turned into 2, 3, 4. Hey, can you do a Zoom call with our global brand ambassador, Sam Reuter? Can you do a Zoom call with the chief marketing officer, Eddie Simon? So it kind of just grew, and then the offer letter came, and I'm like, wow.
Big shout out to Lorna Frazier. I mean, she's the best anyways. Hi, Lorna. Thank you for everything you do for Davidoff and for us. And good call here. Nice call here, Lorna. That was she was the one that made the call. She was the one that said, "Hey, you or anybody else."
Well, she was the one who reached out to me. I hope there was some other people that were kind of.
I'm sure there were. She's great.
Verify that, but I'm very glad. I'm very blessed they did.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. So when that was 2020.
That was last year. That was 2022.
So that's right. When you came here, that was one of your first events.
Yeah, I'd only been doing this for a couple months. My first day was May 31st last year.
That's exactly right. We had Shia here the year before, I believe.
Yeah.
We had Shia here a couple of years. Shout out to Shia. How you doing, Shia? Yeah. We miss you. He was great. And then Alex steps in, and it just keeps getting better and better. But that's the thing with Davidoff. So, and kudos to you. You know, if they call you,
thank you.
If they hire you, Davidoff does not settle. You know, and although they make mistakes at times, just like everybody else, definitely didn't make a mistake here. It was a great call. It was a great hire. He's got the personality for it, and you have the work ethic, because there's a lot to learn, right? To become Davidoff brand ambassador, you're representing, Davidoff of Geneva. You know, everywhere you go,
and that's why it was the imposter syndrome there at the beginning, like. How am I here? Why am I here? But then you have to live up to the expectation, right? So my first 6 weeks was staring at a screen and going through as much information as possible, asking questions, because obviously there's a lot of people who have been in the brand, or even just customers, clients, people who have enjoyed Davidoff. They're brand loyalists, and they are in love with everything about this company. Just asking questions, trying to pick people's brains, because it is a lot, and it is storytelling, and a lot of stories you don't know unless you were there, type deal. So to pick up, I'm always learning. I'm still learning plenty right now, and that will never end. And that's one of the things I love about this industry too. There's always new stuff coming out. There's always new ideas. There's new tobacco. There's new stories. There's new XYZ. So it's easy to stay active, and if you're stagnant, that's, in my opinion, that's almost kind of that's on you. You're being lazy about it.
Well, you're going backwards. So I always have a saying, you know, life and business, and even a position, you know, employment, because I say the same thing with Regency. If you're not growing, you're dying. As a person, it's the same thing. If you're not growing, you're dying. Now, you might not die tomorrow, but the process has begun. Once you decide that you know it all, first of all, you're an idiot. You think you know it all.
No,
that's just pure ignorance, especially, and that's just in life in general, but even in the cigar world, I don't think I've ever met, and I've been able to talk to some of the top guys in this business from all over. Just had Jose Blanco on last week or a couple of weeks ago. I mean, guy's been around for 40 years.
Great guy.
It was an awesome interview, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, "Mike, I'm still trying to learn something every single day. There's something new that I learned."
He's the professor.
I mean, it's legit. So if you're not growing and you're not learning, then you're dying. In business, it's the same thing. If you hit a certain level of business and you think, "I've made it," you've begun the end of that business. You know, once you stop trying to grow the business, you've begun the dying process. I don't know how long it's going to take, but the business will eventually die if it's not growing. And it's the same thing with knowledge. If you don't utilize it, you lose it, right?
100%.
If we stop talking about what we know about cigars, we start forgetting what we knew about cigars. And that's
those stories die out.
That's why I love doing this, because it reminds me of so much. It's like, I forgot that, you know, when you tell the story, it's like, oh, that's right. About Zeno Davidoff, for instance, when Cuba reached out to him, I knew that part of the story, but there was no way I was going to recall that. You know, and then you said, well, we got to go back. You know, we got to go back to 1968, and this is actually the beginning of the process of Davidoff going global, and it's a great story. Getting back to Zeno Davidoff, one of my favorite stories about him is with the humidors, right?
If it's not for him, then we don't have him.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. He actually, and I'm sure a lot of people know, maybe a lot of people don't know, but he was actually the one who created the desktop humidor. He invented that.
When you told that story at the hat event,
Yeah.
I think we had about 40 people in the bar. I think I was the only one in the room that knew that.
Who already
and it's
knew
because
that, yeah.
I had done some reading on it. But no one knew that story. So I think the vast majority of smokers out there who have a desktop or are lucky to have a cabinet or even a walk-in. Some of my clients have walk-in humidors in their house or in their basement. He invented both the walk-in humidor and the desktop humidor. Before that, cigars were just being transported. You would get a box. Stores would put them on their shelves or in regular retail displays, like we keep lighters and cutters, and cigars were for sale.
And that was that.
And that was that.
That was
and that was it. It wasn't until Zeno Davidoff came along and said, we need to keep these in better
Yeah,
condition.
you need to be able to take that Latin American, Central American environment, that higher humidity, to a place that doesn't have it, right?
Exactly
and how do you do that, right? So obviously tobacco and cigars, that's kind of a big thing in Cuba, Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua. Obviously, you don't really need a humidor as much as you would if you're in Greenwich, Rhode Island, or Geneva, Switzerland, or London, England.
Correct.
So, like, how do you transport that over? So to have that type of innovation and wanting to push the envelope, because that was just after he came back from Central and South America. He left Geneva in 1924, and he spent 6 years. He came back in 1930. So as he's coming of age and becoming his own man personally as well as professionally, because he was already in the tobacco industry. His dad, Henri, was actually the one who moved the family from Kyiv, Ukraine in 1911. So, long-time tobacconist already.
Yep.
So it's him growing, becoming his own person, having his own ideas, wanting to make plant his flag. And that was obviously a really great way to do that.
So do we know, was he down there when he was in Central America learning about everything he could about tobacco? When he came back, did he notice the difference in the cigars and how they smoked or how they tasted?
I would have to imagine so.
It had to be a light switch.
Yeah, because you, even now, so I've now been down to the factory twice. So I went Thanksgiving week last year, and then we have our retailer trip. We go in January, and the cigars taste so good down there. Well, when you're actually in the DR, you're standing there, and obviously a lot of variables go into cigar enjoyment, right? It's not just what you've had to drink that day or your food, or for me, I'm a mood smoker, so I will smoke different things. I'll enjoy different cigars based on different times of day or how I'm feeling. But your environment. So
really makes a difference. If
I'm sitting at my desk at work, I'll have a cigar, I'm doing work, or if I'm out on my back patio at home, that's one thing. But when you're standing next to a 6-foot stalk in the middle of a field, and it's in the morning, clear blue sky, a mountain in the background, a curing barn, it just hits different, right? It's just one of those things. You put it all together, and if there is a heaven, I would say that's what it's like.
That's what it feels like.
So when you're down there, and so you go back to Geneva after 6 years of that, and I bet he's like, you know what?
And now you pick up a dry cigar.
There's something to this, because this isn't the way it should be.
Yeah, and we've all done that. You travel with cigars, or you forget them here or there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys out there. I know it doesn't happen very often now, but I know in the past I've smoked dry cigars. I've had a cigar that was too dry that I left out of the humidor by accident and grabbed it and lit it up. It is not the same when you have a properly humidified cigar compared to a dried out cigar. Mm-hmm. And we lived in a world before Zeno Davidoff, before he came back from that trip, where if you weren't in that region anywhere else in the world, there was a good shot that was happening, that you were grabbing cigars that were just dried out. It was still tobacco, and it may have been good tobacco at some point.
That's the thing. Imagine what they would have tasted like, what that experience would have been like had they been taken care of properly.
Yeah.
in that time.
Well, luckily for Zeno Davidoff, they are now. Whether it's our walk-in humidor or your humidor at home, that
Luckily
desktop
for
humidor.
us.
Luckily for us, yeah.
That's the thing.
Exactly
Every
right.
single person who enjoys cigars has taken advantage of the humidor. If it's not for him, that humidor system is not around.
Yeah.
Could somebody else have done it? Maybe.
Sure.
Who knows? But it's because of him, and we need to remind ourselves that everybody started smoking their cigars. Everybody had their first cigar. Everybody has gone through their journey. That was part of his journey, is making everybody else's journey that much better.
That much better. That's right. Well said. Very well said. So we get into the lines. First line that he started out of the Dominican Republic.
Well,
first cigar.
So again, going to the DR, that's something he's trying to retool blends.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously there were lines which existed. The first one out of Cuba was, so we're going back to like 1946 time frame. So it's obviously immediately out of World War II.
Yeah.
And Zeno he had an affinity for Bordeaux wine. Loved wine. Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Merlot. So you have that blend of grapes, and you put those together, and it just created that experience that he really, really enjoyed, right? So he wanted to have a type of cigar where you had those tobaccos that were of the supreme quality. They were uber quality. They were coming from the same fields, and they gave you that type of experience that would also pair well with Bordeaux wines, right? So that was actually the impetus behind the Chateau series. So we actually know the Chateau now as Grand Cru, and that made that change because of the move from Cuba over to the DR. So going from Cuban to Dominican tobacco, big deal. And to be able to get something that still has that, he's with the name, obviously it still has that wine connection with Grand Cru, but still does pair well with Bordeaux. The idea's there, but you have to use very different ingredients. And we're talking about that pairing and what elevates your experience. Individually, amazing products, right? But when you put them together, making them greater than the sum of their parts, and finding something that still pairs well with the Bordeaux wines, I mean, knocked it out of the park with the Grand Cru. And speaking of mood smoking earlier, actually, one of my favorite ways to start my day, Grand Cru number 2, espresso with a twist of lemon. You throw that twist of lemon in the espresso, the citric acid cuts through a little bit of that bitterness in the espresso, and that is a magical way to start your day. The creaminess, the floral notes, the cedar from the
Now, do you start every day this way?
No, not
okay.
Every day. Most days.
Okay.
Most days I will start that way. At least with the espresso, I don't always have a lemon handy, but I also like to change it up. I don't like to smoke the same thing over and over again. Trying to keep away from getting palate dead.
Yeah. So
I won't start every day with a Grand Cru. Sometimes I'm Yamasa. So obviously the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So because again, that Yamasa experience is going to be different in the first thing in the morning versus after a steak dinner.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So I like to bebop around.
If you're just joining us, we got Alex Weghorn here, Davidoff brand ambassador for Davidoff of Geneva, is my guest today. I'm Mike from Regency Cigar. Thank you so much for checking in with us. We're live on Instagram and on YouTube. For you YouTubers, thank you very much for joining us. We're new to YouTube with the lives, but we're going to do more of this. So thanks for joining us. We got a great guest here today. We're talking everything Zeno Davidoff, and we're talking everything Alex Weghorn as well. We're getting a little bit of background on both of these great men. Zeno is unfortunately no longer with us, but Alex is here, and he represents the brand in the U.S.
Just the U.S.
Just the U.S.
Yes.
Just the U.S.
Yeah.
Now, do we have brand ambassadors elsewhere in the world?
Yes, we do.
We do. How many?
Yes, we do. Not many. I believe there's only 6 or 7 others.
So is there ever
Yeah.
a competition like a cage match or anything where they throw you all in the cage? First one out of the cage is the champion, Davidoff Ambassador. Have they gotten to that yet?
Not quite. I maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
And a former
but
bodybuilder, so I'm going to guess you're going to have a slight advantage there.
Maybe I don't know about that, because I mean, one of the things that we covered in Sports Talk Radio was MMA, and so you can't always let your eyes fool you. Sometimes
That's right.
it's about the skill.
And it's the same thing with the cigar, right?
I was going to say that too. Actually, it's the same thing about a cigar. You look at a cigar and you may have a preconceived notion, but you got to burn to learn. You have to actually have the cigar. You have to see what it's all about before you can make a judgment. Yeah. In my opinion, even when you have a new cigar to you, don't base your opinion off of your first.
Correct.
Multiple attempts at it. I try to do at least 3 times before I kind of start to put together my thoughts, because again, so many variables go into cigar enjoyment. So the more similarities you have between those, that's going to be the true character of the cigar. The variables will change some of those other nuances as you go through.
And if you love that first one, you're off to a great start.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you didn't like it, or you say it's okay, you try a second one and that experience may surprise you. Mm-hmm. So we always tell people, when you're trying new stuff, at least try 2. You know, unless you really hated the flavor of that first cigar, just didn't line up with you, or it was too strong for you, or too much. I don't even like to say that, because sometimes, like you said, it's the environment or the condition. You didn't have something to eat. Your energy levels are low. You know, you're tired. It's at the end of the day and you smoke something and it just didn't hit you right, because you really weren't in the right mood to smoke a cigar. But that's why it is important, if you're going to try new cigars, to give them a couple of tries, because it's not that the cigar is going to be different itself. Usually it's us as the smoker.
Very, very well put. Yeah, usually it's us. Yeah,
So
we change a lot more on a day-to-day basis than the cigars.
And that's the magic of these cigars. So they grow tobacco every single year, goes through all the process of the curing, the fermentation, the aging, and they almost work magic when they get a line like this, or like the Signature Series or the Grand Cru, to stay consistent year after year after year after year, with all the hands that are involved in the process, with the different climates and the different temperature, weather conditions, everything that goes into it. And in the end, they're still able to produce blends that are just about identical consistently for decades, as Davidoff has been doing it for decades. It's almost miraculous. And it isn't just Davidoff that does that. There's a lot of great companies out there. So, certainly. I mean, we have the Davidoff brand ambassador here, but realistically, there's a lot of great companies. It's just usually, like anything, whether it's in sports or anything else, there's usually one best, right? There's one champion. And I think you'll agree when you say, when it comes to quality control, and nowadays, when it comes to variety and quality control, no one does it better than Davidoff.
And I'm glad you brought up variety too, because again, kind of preconceived notions. People see that oval, they see the white band, and the assumption is Davidoff is mild.
Yeah, and it was
for a long time. It was there's some truth to that in the past.
Yeah,
but again, Zeno was an innovative guy. He had ideas. He went through experiments. He tried things. And a lot of what he thought of and came up with ended up hitting. And to be able to continue that after he passed away in 1994 was a very big deal for everybody in the company. So then you have, and a great example of what we're experiencing on Tuesday, you have the launch of the Discovery Series, the Black Band series from Davidoff. You have the launch of the Nicaragua in 2013. You have the box press version coming out in 2015. Also 2015, Escurio came out. In 2016, Yamasa. So you're getting into completely different tobaccos. So up to this point, it's primarily Dominican tobacco. And then all of a sudden, there's a Nicaraguan Puro coming out from Davidoff. Yeah. What is this? And it's the same, but different. I mean, I put it that way because it's different in the sense you're using different ingredients, but when you apply the Davidoff mentality towards blending and experience and quality control to a different type of tobacco, it's a different experience, but you still know it's Davidoff.
Yeah.
So it's the same, but different.
Exactly right.
And to continue to push those envelopes, coming up with hybridized tobacco, proprietary tobacco that only we have, nobody else has access to it. Great example of that in the black band is the Escurio. So we actually have hybrid tobacco that's grown in Brazil. It's the binder leaf as well as some of the filler leaf in there. And it's called Cubra. It's a Cuban-Brazilian hybrid that is grown in the Todos dos Santos area of Bahia. And for me, I have found that I love Brazilian tobacco. I think Escurio for me is one of the more underrated blends we have. And it's kind of a middle child syndrome almost, because you have all this prestige that has gone into the launch of Nicaragua. It's been a rock star for us for the last decade.
And Nicaragua was the hot tobacco, and it's been that
Certainly.
way for a good 10 plus years.
Especially in the U.S.
Yeah.
Especially in the U.S. The U.S. palate being very different than the European palate.
Yeah.
We as Americans typically like more flavor, more strength, a little bit more in your face, some boldness,
so that's the
and
difference.
variety.
Tell us about so in Europe, the European smoker still prefers a milder cigar, a lighter
I think
cigar.
that has also
on
evolved
average?
over time, right? I'd say the predominant enjoyer of cigars is going on the little bit milder, more finesse, right? More nuance. But as time goes on, also people travel a lot more. And from a shipping standpoint, just logistically, there's more of different types of tobacco and cigars getting over there, right? So they're having their world opened up to them as well.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, that will continue. But
and Davidoff's that one brand that is truly global.
Correct.
If you go to any major city or any reputable tobacconist in a major city, usually there's an authorized dealer in Paris, in London, in Hong Kong, in Sydney. I mean,
Tokyo.
throughout the world, you know, not just in the U.S. It's the one brand that it stands up to Cuban cigars everywhere else in the world. And then obviously in the U.S., it's going up against a lot of Dominican cigars, Nicaraguan cigars, Honduran cigars.
Variety.
But it is the one brand that pretty much you go to any major city in the world, you're going to see it somewhere, whether it's a Davidoff of Geneva store or whether it's an authorized dealer somewhere else in the world.
Correct.
You're going to see, and everyone goes there. And quite often I hear these stories. Some of my guys who travel overseas. One of my clients went to, I think he was in Germany, and he walked in a tobacconist and he said, "Hey, what do you recommend? What's your best cigar?" And the guy said to him, "Well, you're an American, so I'm assuming you want Cuban." The guy says, "No, I didn't say that." I said,
Right.
What's your best cigar? What do you recommend as the best cigar? And he said, "Well, if you want one of the best that I have," he recommended a Davidoff. I think it was the Anniversario.
Zeno said, "Eat less but eat the best.
That's right.
Drink less but drink the best. Smoke less but smoke Davidoff."
But smoke Davidoff. That's right. That's right.
I know he's biased, but still.
Smoke better, smoke less. Okay. So we're an hour in. I'm Michael from Regency Cigar. Thank you so much for joining us live on Instagram on a Saturday night, a special Saturday Night Live. Something going on here. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. We are live.
Brief.
I got a little interruption there. I got Alex Weghorn, Davidoff brand ambassador in the U.S. with me. We've had a fascinating conversation talking about him, talking about Zeno Davidoff. We're just getting into the cigars now, talking about the different cigars that Davidoff has to offer, and the fact that Davidoff has something for just about every palate now.
Correct.
It isn't just mild cigars. It's not just full-bodied cigars. It isn't one-dimensional cigars. Most of their cigars have some nice complexity to them, whether it's the lighter stuff or the full-bodied stuff.
Yeah.
But they have a broad spectrum. How many different lines are we at now? Regular production lines with Davidoff. Do you have this number off head?
Oh, wow.
So this is the testing portion for the Davidoff Ambassador.
For just always available.
Standard availability. Yeah. We're looking at 11 to 12 lines.
So 4, 3, 2. We're at about.
We stumped the Ambassador. We stumped
10
the
to
Ambassador
12.
live on Instagram.
10 to 12.
10 to 12 lines. Yeah. And
now let me see if I can name them.
no two lines are the same.
Correct.
That's the cool part.
Yeah.
No two lines are the same.
Yeah.
But now, second part of the test, we're going to give him partial credit because he gave us a range, and I had already said about 11 to 12 lines. I think it is a dozen lines, but we're going to see if he can name every line. Carlos, we're going to double check. We're going to confirm. Obviously, I can confirm because I know every line, but I'm not the Davidoff brand ambassador. We're putting him to the test. We're going to put him on the clock. How many seconds do you want for this? How long is it? Can you name all the lines in less than a minute?
Yeah.
All right, less than a minute. Carlos, you got the clock? All right.
All right, so signature Grand Cru Anniversario Millennium. You have Winston Churchill, White Band, Late Hour. You have Escurio, Nicaragua, Yamasa, Royal Release, Colorado Claro.
That's right. That's pretty good.
12.
That's right. Well
Boom.
done. And
Boom.
what was that, like 10 seconds? How long? 20 seconds. He had 40 seconds to spare. He didn't know how many there were, but he knew all of them, and that's more important.
Math is hard.
Math is hard. Math is hard. So I'm going to drink to that. Cheers.
Numbers and math in public. Cheers.
I can really bust your chops. Mr. Kentucky, what are we drinking here? Mr. Kentucky.
So actually, this is actually a Dalmore 12 Old Fashioned. Honestly, even though it's Scotch, that is my favorite Old Fashioned version.
Says the guy from Kentucky.
Yeah, and I am a big bourbon drinker. I love pretty much anything from Heaven Hill Distillery in Bardstown. They have some great regular as well as limited release
What do they make?
expressions. So that's you're talking about Larceny, Elijah Craig, Heaven Hill, Henry McKenna, Parker's Heritage as well.
Nice.
They have Old Fitzgerald is top notch. They have some really good lines coming out of there. Also Bernheim. So they have some really good options, much like Davidoff, a very wide variety that all satisfy your palate. If you have what you think is a funky palate, they have something that'll check that box for you.
And why cater to one smoker or one palate? I shouldn't say one smoker, one palate, when you can cater to all palates.
Right, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, one of the great things about cigars and also spirits, but especially cigars, I always tell people, I love telling people this, cigars are the great unifier, right?
Yep.
They bring people together, arguably better than anything else in the world, in my opinion. Bring people together, but to be perfectly honest, they can sometimes become an afterthought. Because why do people come to lounges like Regency, right?
Yeah.
The community that's built, the camaraderie, right? They're there because of the cigars, but they stay because of the community.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why you have such a strong brotherhood and sisterhood within this industry. And you can go to any cigar lounge, bar, shop in the world, and there's already a comfort level there.
And cigars are the peacemaker. So you get all walks of life. It doesn't matter race, color, religion,
the big stuff,
economics, none of it. I mean, all walks of life can walk into a cigar bar, just like ours. We see it all the time here. And you'll have a doctor talking to a janitor. Yeah. Right? You'll have an attorney talking to someone who's unemployed.
Everybody is even playing field.
That's right. And the conversation, we all have the one thing in common, the wonderful tobacco leaf that goes into premium cigars and the love for premium cigars. So it really brings us together. And it isn't until they start talking about all that other stuff that any friction may happen.
Right.
It's when you get into the politics or into the religion or into, those beliefs that people live by. It's when they start getting into that maybe, but usually you don't see that because everyone wants to enjoy themselves. They're not here. You came because you want to enjoy a cigar. You might want to enjoy a drink. And like you said, you want to enjoy the company. So if I come to you and I want to have a cigar with you or we sit down together and we start smoking together, last thing I want to do is argue with you about politics.
Correct.
Right? You want to talk about ruining a good cigar. Talk about just about any politician out there and you're going to ruin a good cigar, or there's the potential to ruin a good cigar. But it is a wonderful world that we live in and that sometimes we take for granted until we remind ourselves that it is special. And it is very special, yeah. It's a gift that we've been given for whatever reason, that I fell in love with cigars, or he fell in love with cigars, or you out there fell in love with cigars. We have an advantage against non-premium cigar smokers. We know how to relax and enjoy ourselves at a different level. We know how to escape.
And it doesn't matter if it's solo or with other people.
That's exactly right.
And a lot of people, what's your purpose? If you're doing this, if you're enjoying with intent and you're really thinking about your cigar, that's perfectly fine. If you are enjoying a cigar because you had a rough day at work and it's cathartic, it helps you process and it lets you think and kind of unwind and release a little bit before you go home, and then you have a better home life because of that. Or if you're being social about it, you're having conversation, be a good conversation or maybe difficult conversation. And one of the things I love is you can have those difficult conversations, topics about which individuals are incredibly passionate.
Yep.
and they can be diametrically opposed, right? And they can get a little heated, and they can go back and forth a little bit, but it's more of a dialogue. It's not a screaming match.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, they're going to say, you know what? I'll see you tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. Meet together tomorrow for a cigar. Same time, same place.
And we'll do same bat time, same bat place.
Same bat time, same bat place. That's exactly right. It's a wonderful world, and we're blessed to be in it. And I hope you guys out there appreciate it, or take that moment. The next time you light up a great cigar, remember how great it is and how wonderful a place it has in our world. Whether, like you said, it's at the end of a bad day, we tell people, grab a great cigar and save the day. You know, if you had a bad day, leave it behind you, light up a great cigar, and after an hour to 2 hours, a lot of those troubles are going to dissipate. You're not going to feel the same bottom. And if you had a great day, something happened today,
it's get better.
Celebrate with a great cigar. You know, it enhances life in general, in moderation, and responsibly, obviously.
Sure.
But it's one of those things. It's the same thing with a great drink. You know, whether it's wine, like Davidoff enjoyed wine, or scotch, or bourbon, or anything like that. I'm drinking a Stoli Elite Martini, my favorite martini right now, but I love a nice tequila, Don Julio 1942. When you pour a glass of something special, you get to relax. It takes it to a different level. When you light up something special like this. Now, I have access to these, and like I said, I smoke these almost every week, just about every Saturday. And we're smoking the Davidoff Royal Release. I have the Robusto. Alex has the Solomon. This is a phenomenal cigar, and it's not cheap by any means. It's not for everyone, and we don't claim that it's for everyone unless you plan ahead. If you're living on a budget, or you're worried about how much you spend on cigars, plan accordingly. But this should be on everyone's bucket list. A cigar to definitely try at some point. A milestone in your life. You had your first child, second child, fifth child, whatever it is. Find a reason to celebrate with something good.
If you're having your fifth child, you might need to find a hobby.
You might need to find something to do. Or go old school, get a different bed, you know, sleep in different beds. But no, it's just one of those things. The cigar is so good, and I don't take it for granted that not everyone's going to be able to walk in here and grab one of these whenever they want.
Yeah.
And I'm privileged to be able to do that, but I don't do it whenever I want, because I want that appreciation for it. If you take something special, it's like they say, you know, if you love steak and you eat steak every day, you're going to get sick of it eventually. I don't care what it is. Eventually, you're going to say, I want something else other than steak. And you can take the best cigars in the world and do the same thing to where maybe you don't get sick of them, but you end up taking them for granted a little. And
it doesn't mean as much.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And like he said earlier, if you're just joining us, he described the cigar and the process that goes into it from before the seed is planted. They already know that it's a royal release seed, and every part of the process is handled unique to make this special cigar. And then the tobacco is aged for at least 10 years before the cigars are rolled, and then the cigars sit.
Correct.
After
there's additional aging that happens on top of that. So
this is a cigar that's ready to smoke.
100%. It doesn't need more time.
It doesn't.
You can certainly give it more time, but the whole point is, you want to be able to open up a fresh box and have that experience you're expecting, right? And not only that, but getting back to the appreciation of the quality control and the consistency is making sure a box going to St. Petersburg, Florida is going to taste exactly the same as London, England.
That's right.
Right? And even, as you said, from year to year, because environmental changes happen, right? And the whole mentality behind Davidoff is vertical integration. We call that crop to shop.
Yep.
So we want to try to control the environment as much as we can, but obviously not 100% doable. So to take, instead of trying to hit a moving target, the target's staying still. We know what we're shooting for. It's everything else. We're shooting from a unstable platform, in the fact that there's different rainfall, there's different humidity, there's different. We actually work, we have agronomists that work with the farmers. So in specifically Dominican Republic, there's 15 different growing regions, and we work with about 50 different farmers. And our agronomists actually go to the farms on a regular basis, multiple times a week, to work with the farmers and make sure the nutrition is exactly what it needs to be. The environment is exactly what it needs to be for that tobacco. So if you're moving this much, then obviously that's going to have a certain impact.
Yep.
But if you're controlling more and you're moving this much, it's a lot easier to hit that
So
that
safe
goal.
to say, Davidoff hasn't taken anything for granted that humans have within their control.
Mhm.
They're pretty much on it. Anything outside of human control, the weather conditions,
Correct,
temperature,
yeah.
rain, moisture, sunlight
Mhm.
versus cloud, you have to deal with that the best you can. But
Yeah.
when you can control everything else, or you actually work to control everything else that you know is within your control, like you just mentioned, that just adds to the consistency. That's one of the things that they do better than just about anybody else out there.
That's kind of what we call the Davidoff difference.
Yeah.
Right. And currently we have the Davidoff difference campaign going on over the next couple of years, which allows us to pull the curtains back a little bit and kind of show you and tell you how and why we do things differently. So obviously the farming side of things, the agronomists, but also just the people themselves, everybody in that chain. There's 300 different hands that touch these cigars before you receive that before you select it out of the humidor at your local retailer.
And that's every Davidoff, not just the Royal
Correct.
Release.
That's every single Davidoff cigar. So that obviously takes a lot of passion and discipline to do. And at every single level, we have people who have been there for decades. They truly love it, and they care about the final product, and they know they have a significant impact.
They take
on
personal
that final.
pride
Absolutely,
in what they're doing.
It's a huge difference that we really, not trying to say there's no pride in other brands.
No,
definitely not saying
100%.
that.
100%.
Absolutely not.
There's a lot
But-
of great other companies out there producing wonderful cigars.
Correct. But for us, it's our ethos.
Yeah.
That is at
Well
our
said.
absolute core.
So out of everything they produce, well, we're going to stay within the 12. So the 12
Okay.
regular production cigars, do you have a favorite?
So,
First, yes or no?
no.
No, he does not have a favorite. Didn't see that coming. How do you not have
No.
a favorite?
Because, again, I'm a mood smoker.
Okay.
So, yes, I love Grand Cru number 2. But I'm not going to have that every single time. And I'm
No.
not going to have that, not even going to have that every single day. I have 4 or 5 I kind of go to. And it's not only blend, it's also format.
So
Right.
if it's your last cigar,
Okay, all right.
this is where we go. And we're not talking
So
limited
usually
edition,
I get
regular
asked if I
production.
have a favorite, but the follow-up, if it's my last cigar.
You have to pick one. So this is your final cigar. You got your final meal and your final cigar,
Ooh.
whether it's morning, afternoon, or night. But you know this is it. You have one more that you can smoke. Which Davidoff is it going to be?
Oh,
Regular
man,
production.
regular
so we're not talking
production.
limited edition. Royal Release is not included in that.
Okay. So if I had to choose, and this is not to curry favor because I know this is high on your list.
Okay. All right. So
Cup.
hold on then. Before you answer,
Okay.
I don't know how many people are on right now, but if there's anyone out there that knows my favorite, if you're out there, you're watching right now, you got to mind. So if anyone within the next minute can
Okay.
tell me my favorite, I'm going to send you one. You will get one free. You will pick you out as the winner. First guy, not Carlos. So Carlos already went in. He's going. So the first guy out there that can tell me my favorite cigar, my favorite Davidoff cigar, will get a free one of my favorite Davidoff cigar. I'll send it to you as a gift.
Okay.
You'll DM me after, or we'll DM you. But the first one to pop up on the screen that Carlos sees, if anybody can do it in the next minute, because we're running out of time here. So does anyone know it before Alex answers?
Yeah, this time is
What's
flown.
my favorite cigar? If you can name my favorite cigar, you get a free cigar. Anyone watching right now, if you can name my favorite cigar, I will send you one. If you're local, you'll come in and grab it. But other than that, if you're not local, I will send it out to you as a gift for knowing my favorite cigar, because I've mentioned it 1,000 times online if I've mentioned it once. And everyone in the store knows what it is. I'm not shy about it. But I'm Mike. We're getting ready to finish up here. Anything yet?
Nope.
No. Good guess. Good guess. But now
Oh, Linus. Oh, my God.
Linus is guessing. Do you know Linus?
He works for us.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
Linus. Nice guess. How do you not
Yeah.
know this, Linus, if you work for Davidoff?
Yeah, Linus. He's over in Switzerland, actually. He's
Oh, no kidding.
he works at the global headquarters in Basel. Hi, Linus.
Good guess. He did not. Did it?
Oh, he
we-
did. He
Oh, he
Oh,
asked in the
okay.
comments. Okay, all right. So we're going to get to that. So if you can name it, we're slowly running out of time. We got about 6 minutes left here. I'm with Alex, Davidoff brand ambassador, Alex Weghorn. It's been a great conversation. I've had a lot of fun here. We've had some laughs. We've got some knowledge there.
No.
What was that? Did I win? No, sorry, Linus, you did not win. That's the wrong. And you can't guess anymore. You're out now, so you can't just throw stuff at us. What about on YouTube? Are they nothing on YouTube? All right. So we're gonna get to Alex's then, because I'm asking. We're talking all Davidoffs, and we're just talking about favorites. If you have Linus, what is your favorite? Tell us what you is that his favorite? Do you know what his favorite might be?
I actually don't know his favorite.
And you didn't know your favorite.
To be fair,
so you try not to have a favorite. Do you have children?
No, I don't.
You don't have children. So every parent claims, and I don't have children, but every parent claims they don't have a favorite, but deep down inside they have a favorite. And it's the same thing with cigars. So no answers there. All right, we'll get messages once we post this. People will be saying, "Oh, I wish I was watching live." You had your shot at a free cigar. It's passed. He's going to tell us. Alex is going to tell us his free cigar. Alex Weghorn, Davidoff brand ambassador. What is his favorite Davidoff cigar? So out of the regular line.
So mine is Colorado Claro Specialty.
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 So very close.
Yeah, it's because you are you're Annie 3?
Annie number 3.
Yeah,
Colorado Claro, Annie number 3. That's my go-to favorite cigar. If I was going to have one regular production, if it was going to be a regular production Davidoff, if I had to smoke my last one, that would without a doubt be it. No hesitation. It'd be Colorado Claro Anniversary number 3. Unless I was going to the electric chair, then I may choose the Colorado Claro Double R because it would buy me another hour.
You get extra time.
I get some extra time if they let me finish it. But other than that, the Davidoff Anniversary, Davidoff Colorado Claro Anniversary number 3 is my favorite cigar, and the Colorado Claro Specialty is your favorite cigar. I did not see that coming. Yeah. That's interesting. So where does Nicaragua fall for you?
So it is up there. It is in my top 5. I have like 5 I go to.
Yeah.
Right.
So what are those top 5?
So we have Grand Cru number 2.
Yeah, and that's more of a morning with the espresso.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Also the Corona Gorda format in Escurio.
That's Brandon's favorite cigar as well.
Yeah,
Brandon works for his.
And again, Escurio for me is underrated. Yeah. I think that's a great one. So Colorado Claro Specialty, Annie 3.
This is regular, not in order.
This is no.
This
yeah,
is
no
just
particular
his top
order.
5. Yeah.
And then, the Nicaragua Diadema is in that top 5.
That's
definitely.
Just a great shape.
It
that
really
is.
An
absolutely
number 3 cigar of the year last year for aficionado. But as I said earlier, Nicaragua has been a rock star for the last 10 years. Multiple 90+ ratings, 95, 97.
And that should have been number 1 last year. Just for the record, that should have been the number 1 cigar. When you look at the 2 cigars that were chosen number 1 and number 2, I'm not going to mention any names.
Your words, not mine.
Yeah, I don't trash anyone, but I'm just saying if you look at how it played out, there's no doubt from a quality standpoint, flavor, complexity, the way it burns, the size, the shape, everything about it. It's just a magnificent smoke. And I'm not the biggest Nicaraguan fan, so Nicaraguan tobacco I'll smoke on occasion. It's not my favorite tobacco at all. We sell a lot of it, whether it's Padron or Davidoff Nicaragua.
Certainly.
Everyone's producing it now, right? So everyone's coming out with because it has become very, very popular. It's just, I've been a Dominican guy, just personal preference as go-to. And keep in mind, it is subjective to personal taste.
Absolutely.
Just because I say the Colorado Claro Anniversary number 3 is my favorite cigar, it's not any better from a quality standpoint than say the regular Davidoff Anniversary number 3. The quality is the same. Now, is the quality consistent throughout all lines, or are some lines better than others?
In my opinion, it is, because again, they're all going through the same processes.
Yeah.
There is no difference from one to the next. So that benchmark has to be met for every single cigar, regardless of format, regardless of blend.
And how many quality control points?
So 702.
Correct.
Yes,
because
that was the reason why the 702 wrapper was named that.
Originally, I thought it was the number of the seed. Like, how they number everything or they name everything.
So the Millennium wrapper leaf is called 151 because that was the 151st version of that hybridization process. So, but real quick, I know we're running out of time. We still haven't even talked about Tuesday.
That's right.
Really.
That's right.
So let's talk about that real quick. This is a pairing, and I am actually figuratively hand-holding everybody through a tasting of the Nicaragua Parejo, which is the name for the regular rounded cylinder shape of cigars, the Robusto, as well as the box press. So what we're doing is we have 6 chocolates. The first 2 pair with the Parejo, 3 and 4 pair with the box press. Number 5 pairs with both.
Interesting.
And then the number 6 one is actually a Dalmore 18 truffle, which is, we're doing a lot of mental gymnastics. So that's one where everybody's just going to enjoy the chocolate, finish their cigars, and just enjoy the rest of the night.
And we will have some food to start with, so no one's smoking on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
We will have food. The event starts at 6 o'clock, Tuesday night. What's that, September 12th?
Correct.
At the cigar bar here at Regency Cigar Emporium. We're going to be close to the public, so the bar is only going to be open to those coming to the event. So if you're interested, you can call us, email us, and we'll put you down for an RSVP, 401-884-7665. Alex Weghorn, Davidoff Brand Ambassador, is going to be here with us on Tuesday, walking us through this very unique tasting.
Yeah.
And another thing that you guys do so well is you come up with these not only unique products, and giveaways, some of the items that you get, and there's going to be some giveaway items that night as well. But you have to show up before you can see what that is. But they come up with these unique events, like we had the hat event last year, where everyone got fitted for a fedora here.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
Very
with the
well
hat
received.
Ambassador as well.
Yeah.
They had a blast with
Michael
that.
Brown with Gorin Brothers.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Did a great
Mike
job
did
with
a
us.
great job. So Alex is going to be walking us through this tasting. Like I said, he's not actually going to be holding your hands. If you don't want him touching you, he will not touch you. I will not allow that. But he's going to be walking us through the tasting, and it's going to be a blast because he's going to bring all the knowledge that he shared with us tonight and so much more as we go through that. That'll last a couple of hours typically.
Yeah,
Is
well,
that right?
so the actual pairing is around an hour.
Yep.
So then obviously we'll be here for until you kick us out.
Yeah. So
I'll talk with anybody for as
There's-
long as you allow
there's
me.
no ending, unlike this Instagram live where
Yeah.
we do have to end shortly.
Yeah.
There's no set ending to the event. We want everyone to enjoy themselves, have a blast, and get the most out of this event. So it will be a lot of fun. If you want to join us, feel free. Give us a call, 401-884-7665. Shoot us an email at info@regencycigar.com. Just tell us you want to RSVP for the event. The event is $50 per person. It includes the cigars, the chocolate. It's a phenomenal deal, and we're giving you food.
Great price for this.
It's a great deal. It's stuff like this, we prefer that you get the education. We love sharing the knowledge. So not everything we do is about making money or turning a profit. So something like this, when we have Alex, we want people to be able to take advantage of it. Everyone to be able to take advantage of it. Because the way I see it, the more knowledge you have as a smoker, the longer we'll have you as a customer. If the more you know about cigars, the more you'll appreciate cigars, and that's a big part. So we're a big part of knowledge-based selling here, and that's why we love doing stuff here and partnering with Davidoff. Other than that, we are running out of time. That is it for us. Alex, any final words?
One more thing to talk about real quick. Be on the lookout. So we have the next limited edition release coming up.
That's right, coming up in October.
October
Be on the
12th
lookout.
on shelf date for the Anniversario #1.
If you want to see it, information is already on our website, regencycigar.com. You can actually pre-order. The pre-orders just went live. We've already got a couple of pre-orders for that. The Davidoff Anniversary #1 is making a grand reappearance.
Correct.
That's been out of commission for how long?
Since 2016.
Since 2016, and now it's coming back as a limited edition only. Do you know
Correct.
how many boxes produced?
Very
Being
few.
sold?
Very few.
It's a small,
Very few,
a true limited edition cigar. So if you want to see more about that, that is released next month. Davidoff Anniversary #1. It is on regencycigar.com. Check it out. But if you want to join us Tuesday, feel free to reach out. It's going to be a great night with the Davidoff Ambassador, Alex Weghorn. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. This was a lot of fun.
This is awesome.
I had a blast. Thank you for everybody out there who joined us, and everybody who didn't join us. You can always watch later on. It will be posted on Instagram and on YouTube. Thank you so much. That's it. Keep smoking and enjoy yourself, guys. Cheers.
Cheers,
to you,
everybody.
Alex.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Cheers. How cool was that?
That's fun,
You were
man.
freaking awesome, man. You were
Thank
awesome.
you. Appreciate
I'm
it.
going to shut this down so we can